Hey, what's up, everybody? We are going to jump right into our immunity webinar. This is one of the most important topics, especially going into the cold and flu season, but it's understanding your immune system, how it works, and ultimately like what you can do to empower and strengthen your immune system to be able to defend you against viruses and bacteria and all the different pathogens out there. So really my hope for you today is to be able to take away the faith that you have so much control over your immune system and what you can do to strengthen it. We're going to talk about what supports health versus what controls health and the difference. We're going to talk about the top 5 foods that are destroying your immune system, the top 5 immune boosting foods, and some of the top nutrients that you could be taking to make sure that you are able to overcome exposures or even recovery if you feel like you are falling, victim to a cold or a flu or a virus or bacteria. But we're going to jump right into this. My name is Dr. Brent DeLong. I'm a MaxLiving chiropractor here in Norman, Oklahoma. We've been doing these events and workshops and seminars for our patients for over the last decade, and ultimately is trying to empower our patients to take control over their health. In fact, our mission with MaxLiving and DeLong Family Chiropractic is really to empower people to live longer, healthier lives through chiropractic care and integration of the 5 essentials. So understanding ultimately how to take control of their health, to make good decisions, and to make sure that we're really minimizing the chances of getting sick, getting disease, but living a life full of energy, life, and vitality. But understanding the current state of our health in our country, we are one of the sickest countries in the entire world. When you look at some of the current statistics with obesity rates, heart disease rates, cancer rates, we're one of the sickest countries in the entire world, yet we have more access to the medical system than any other country. In fact, we have more people taking medications than any other country in the entire world. In fact, we in the United States make up about 5% of the world's population, but consume around 70% of the world's pharmaceuticals. I want you to think about that. If taking more drugs was the answer to create health, then we'd be one of the healthiest countries in the entire world. Yet we're one of the sickest, and yet we're on more and more drugs than any other country in the entire world. So obviously, part of what we're trying to understand is that there's what we have is a crisis care system, which is really, really good. We have one of the best crisis care systems in the world. If you need life-saving intervention, then yes, getting into the hospital, getting put on a medication or having a surgery absolutely can save your life in a crisis. But when it comes to restoring health or chronic disease and overcoming that, it is one of the worst systems there can possibly be. So we're going to talk about living in a culture of fear. And that seems to be just what's getting pushed and pushed and pushed more and more is, mainstream media, that we need to live in fear of viruses, and that, you have no control over whether you're going to get sick or not. It's just if you get exposed or not. And so it's just breeding this culture of fear, which isn't true, but where does it end? They constantly, what's the next thing coming around the corner? We had this epidemic with, the coronavirus, and then they're talking about this new virus that's coming out. But ultimately, like, where does it end? Where does this culture of fear end? And ultimately, it's understanding, truth over fear. The truth is that our bodies are created with this inborn intelligence, this inborn immunity to defend ourselves against colds, flus, and viruses. That our body has this innate intelligence that is to protect us from illness, and that we have a really strong defense system if it is working, if it is healthy. But that's where, in my opinion, the current healthcare system epically fails, is that there is no focus on getting your body healthier and stronger. It's this idea that, instead of, trying to wipe down all the bacteria and avoid all the viruses, how about we just get our bodies so healthy, so strong, that our body's ability, our immune system's ability to interact and overcome those things is far greater. And that's what we're designed to. But when you live the current American standard diet, lifestyle, everything that the standard American lifestyle is really just breeding weakness. It's breeding sickness. It's breeding disease. And your immune system is so weak that it can't interact with just normal everyday exposures. And so that's the kind of stuff that we want to make sure that we're empowering you to change, is how to understand how to build a healthy, strong immune system. And this is kind of where, in my opinion, it starts. This is where it starts. If you can fundamentally understand the germ theory and its faults, then it's going to totally change your perspective. And by the way, the germ theory, this is really what entire medical model is based on, is the idea that germs are what make you sick. Here's the reality, though. If germs were what made us sick, if germ theory of disease were correct, then there'd be nobody alive to believe it. If germs are what caused us to get sick and to die, well, then there would be nobody around to to be able to talk about it, because there's germs everywhere. You're constantly exposed to germs. So if germs were what caused disease, then we'd all be dead. Versus the terrain theory. And this is kind of an easy way to think about it, but if you had this fish in this gross fish bowl, in this fish tank that there were, dumping in toxins, you're throwing in sick food, unhealthy food full of preservatives and food colorings and artificial sweeteners. If you're just dumping in a bunch of stuff into that fish tank and you weren't cleaning it, obviously that fish would get sick. It doesn't matter if you were to put in a bunch of medications into that fish. It wouldn't matter if you gave that fish a bunch of antibiotics and left it in that gross, sick, disease-ridden fish bowl. It wouldn't matter if you were to give that fish a bunch of extra vaccinations. The environment is so toxic that fish cannot get healthy and it cannot survive, and it's going to build disease. Versus if we're able to clean the environment, if you remove all the toxins, if you give the fish proper nutrition, if you avoid, all the bad things, then that fish is going to thrive. And so the difference between the germ theory and the terrain theory is this: a seed does not automatically produce a tree. If a seed lands on a bunch of rocky terrain, there's nothing for the seed to use to develop and to grow into a tree. A germ. If a germ lands or a virus lands in a host that is super healthy and the immune system is super strong, then it's not going to turn into sickness. However, if that seed lands in fertile soil, then it's going to build it, it's going to grow a tree. So if that virus is that bacteria, if that gets exposed to a weak host whose immune system is weak and is sick, well, then it's significantly more likely to proliferate into a disease process. This is why, take a class, and there's 10 kids in the class. 3 of them get the flu, 1 of them gets a sinus issue, 1 of them gets a tummy bug, but then there's like another 3 or 4 of them that don't get sick at all. Then they take that stuff home to their family and they might give it to 1 or 2, but then there's 2 or 3 of the family members that don't get it, even though they're all exposed to the same germs. So it's not the germs or the virus, it's the resistance of the host. I hope that makes sense, because every single one of you have been around a situation where, well, how did that person get sick, but this person didn't? They're touching the same things. They're exposed to the same germs. Well, that's the terrain theory. If we could just shift our mindset around, it's not the germ that's going to cause us to get sick. So we're not a victim. It's that victim mentality that you have no control over that exposure. But it's the idea that you, as a host, have the power to control whether, if you get exposed to that, if your body is weak or body is strong, then you can get, sick or not sick. So again, that's the terrain theory versus the germ theory. If we can just wrap our head around that idea that we have control over the strength of our immune system that ultimately dictates whether we get sick or not, that radically changes what we're doing on a regular basis in just our current lifestyle. So first line of defense. And if you look at like how your immune system functions and the different layers of your immune system, this is one of the reasons why I truly think that antibacterial soap is so devastating. You know, we got on this huge kick of like hand sanitizers and all this sort of stuff. In fact, you know, I was at an assembly at my daughter's school the other day, and it's really cool assembly, and they do some really fun stuff. And some of the older kids had this experiment where they were testing, and it must have been like a health theme or doctor theme or medication theme or something like that. I don't know. And it made me kind of mad because it was all about testing different bacterial soaps or hand sanitizers and stuff like that, and which ones were most effective. But you have to understand this. Again, germ theory versus terrain theory. If you believe in the germ theory, then of course you're going to gravitate to try to kill all the germs. But if you understand the terrain theory, your first line of defense is all the bacteria, the microbiome on your skin. This is the first layer of defense, is your skin and the good bacteria and the healthy normal flora on your skin. If you use antibacterial soap or hand sanitizer, you're literally stripping away and killing all the good bacteria on your hands, which short term is good because you're killing the bad bacteria too. So short term, I can see the benefit. But long term, you're actually weakening your initial defense. So the next time you get exposed to bacteria or next time you touch something, you're weaker. You have less defense because you're killing your own body's natural biome. And it made me so mad that they're promoting this stuff to the kids because, you know, it's training them to believe in the germ theory. And again, like that they are weak and that God designed them weak and they have to have this outside thing to help them, which isn't true. So be very careful about using antibacterial soap. Oh, by the way, in the experiment that they did, they compared it to like regular normal soap, and regular normal soap actually worked better than the antibacterial soap or the hand sanitizers, which hand sanitizers don't even, you're not even like rinsing off the bad stuff. You're just rubbing stuff onto your dead bacteria all over you. So like, funny though, because the actual experiment they did prove that just regular soap worked better anyway. So there you go. But how your immune system works, there's different layers of your immune system. So you have, exposures to different viruses, and then you have, so let's talk about this. What is a virus? And understanding this, don't be afraid of viruses. Technically, if you looked at me under a micron microscope, or if I looked at you under a microscope, or you looked at anybody like their actual physical self, what you would see is human DNA cells. But on top of that, you would see bacterial cells. And technically, you are 10 times more bacterial cells than you are human DNA cells, just by the way. Wrap your head around that. You, me, you're looking at me right now. There is more bacterial cells, foreign bacterial cells, than human DNA cells, 10 times to 1. But you are like 100 times more viral cells than you are human DNA cells. So right now, me standing right here, there's more viral cells, bacterial cells, than there are human DNA cells. And those viruses and those bacteria are critically important to create metabolic function, cellular replication, DNA expression, immune function. I mean, ultimately, if you took those viruses away, if you killed all the bacteria and you killed all the viruses, you wouldn't live. I wouldn't live. Your body would break down. It would die because you need those bacterial cells, you need those viral cells to create life inside and outside with normal healthy function. So again, they're not the bad guys. Now, there are opportunistic viruses that will obviously proliferate in a weak host to create disease. But again, that's just understanding the difference between the terrain theory versus the germ theory. But you have what's called an innate immune system. This is the immune system you're just born with. This is that intelligence that created you in your mother's womb. 2 cells came together, and as those cells multiplied, this beautiful, perfect baby was created, and there's an innate immune system, including all the organs, cells, and tissues that are part of that immune system. Then you have your adapted an adaptive immune system. And this is the immune system that's like a muscle. You get exposed to viruses and bacteria, and your body builds like immune cells and memory cells, and it stores those. So the next time you come in contact with it, boom, you're automatically like ready to fight, and your body's immune system is activating all those T killer cells, your white blood cells, all those sort of things. So you can automatically kill those bad viruses and those opportunistic viruses. That is your adaptive immune system. This is why, back in the day, you had a chicken pox party. Your mom and dad found out that, little Susie down the street got the chicken pox. And so what'd they do? Well, they called all the other moms and all the little kids. They got together, they played, they got the chicken pox, they got a natural adaptive immune system, and now they are immune for life. That's how our body works. In fact, when you look at studies with kids that grow up in households that are like Lysol and disinfected, like just utterly, they're living in like this bubble, their immune system is significantly weaker than those kids that grew up playing in the dirt, that had animals. Studies show that if the kids have animals like dogs and cats, and they're licking and touching and all this sort of stuff, like they're getting exposed and they're playing in the dirt and in the grass, and they're touching stuff and they're putting those things in their mouth. Like those kids have a significantly stronger immune system than those kids that grew up in the bubble. So your immune system is like a muscle, and if you don't use it, it's weak. In fact, there are plenty of studies out there that show if you get the flu, your chances of getting certain kinds of cancer go down because your immune system is stronger because of that exposure. Now, your gut immune connection, and this is really important, especially as we talk about some of the lifestyle and the nutrition stuff down the road. But you have to understand that about 85% of your immune system's in your gut. 85% of your immune system's in your gut. That's where most of the microbiome, all the bacteria is in your gut. I mean, you have a significant amount of bacteria in your mouth and on your skin and like in all the areas, but most of it is in your gut. If you are damaging your gut, if your gut is dysfunctional, if you have leaky gut or dysbiosis, or you have an imbalance in your microbiome, your immune system is really weak and you're very susceptible to disease processes and sickness and stuff like that. And so just understanding how important the gut is. And I did a whole webinar. Go back, rewatch that webinar. Maybe we'll put a link in the comments or whatever. But you've got to understand the importance of your gut, what destroys your gut, and what really improves gut function. And I did a whole webinar on that. So understanding the importance of your gut. But as we talk about things like nutrition, a lot of it is going to be in how it affects your gut, which is what's going to destroy your immune system or either build or strengthen your immune system. So ultimately, we're going to walk you through the 5 essentials. And this is every single health category under the sun is under one of these MaxLiving 5 essentials. It's not an option. You can't do this one or do this one. You can't just, eat good, but not understand your exposure to toxins. You can't just, do, healthy mindsets, but never move or never exercise. You can't, eat good and exercise, but not take care of your structure and your nerve system. Because if you're not doing all of the things at once, you're really setting yourself up for failure. So ultimately, these are essentials. They're all essential to do to make sure that you're creating the best opportunity for health and vitality and avoiding the sickness and disease. So let's kind of break it down. We're going to talk about nutrition for healthy immune system. But first, we're going to talk about the top 5 immune destroying foods. Number 1 is sugar. Sugar can weaken the white blood cells that attack foreign invaders. Remember, your white blood cells are what literally kill bad viruses and bad bacteria. By consuming sugar, and even up to like a couple servings of sugar, it can literally put your white blood cells into a retarded state, meaning like they're in a coma. They're not functioning properly. Like their function has been reduced. So they're literally into a coma by about 75%. That is a ridiculous amount. Your immune system has been reduced by 75% every time you consume sugar. Now, processed foods, the problem here is a lot of them are full of stuff like sugars. You have these processed sugars, you have these processed grains, you have, damaged, nitrates, these processed foods are just fake food in there. And those things are destroying your gut and destroying your gut lining, which again is leaving you susceptible to bad bacteria, which weakens your immune system. Refined carbohydrates, obviously they turn right to sugar, increase your insulin levels, and again, they're reducing your immune function. Fried foods, damaged oils, specifically things like, hydrogenized or partially hydrogenized oil. So things like vegetable oil or canola oil. I mean, these things are just creating this systemic inflammatory response, this crazy cytokine storm, which again leaves you very, very susceptible to these, opportunistic pathogens. So those fried foods are terrible when it comes to inflammatory cytokine storms. Artificial sweeteners. I guess I don't even realize that people still do these, but I see the little packets. Artificial sweeteners are neurotoxins. They are proven time and time again to literally cause neurodegenerative problems. They burn holes in the brain. They create inflammatory responses. It's one of the worst things when it comes to gut health. And it's more linked to obesity. Like when you drink diet soda versus regular soda, even regular soda, even though it has high fructose corn syrup, it's better than the aspartame that they put in diet sodas because of the hormonal responses. It's more linked to obesity than even the regular stuff. So, which is terrible for you anyway. So these are the top 5 worst foods to destroy your immune system. These are kind of things that you have to avoid, especially when you're getting sick, which is, interesting. And I don't know if this happened to you, but when I was little, I feel like when I got sick, one of the things that was like a go-to was like 7-Up, or, I used to get milkshakes. Like some of the worst things you can do if you feel like you're getting wore down, stressed out, or sick is to consume sugar, processed foods, refined carbohydrates, fried foods, or artificial sweeteners. It's just like if your kid has a snotty nose, don't give him sugar. It's going to make their immune systems weak. Why would you do? If you understood how devastating that treat is for their immune system, why would we ever do it? In fact, this is one of the problems I was having with, my little girl's school, is that they have this thing where they encourage them to do certain things or achieve certain things with treats, which is sugar. Why would you want to encourage them to do something good and then give them something that's going to harm them, especially when it comes to like damaging their immune system or promoting cancer? Inflammatory, the number one thing that causes inflammation are these things right here. And heart disease and cancer, they thrive with that inflammation. In fact, cancer cells have 10 times more receptor sites for sugar than a normal healthy cell. Meaning if you want to grow cancer, if you want to promote cancer growing cells in your system, consume a bunch of sugar. It's literally like dumping gasoline on a fire. Now, here are the top 5 immune boosting foods. So these are the foods that you want to consume on a regular basis to strengthen your immune system so that we're able to fight off viruses. Number 1 is quality healthy fats. This is also the number 1 most nutrient deficiency. And it's because fat got a really bad rap. Back in the 1960s and 70s, there's this whole promotion of like the low fat, no fat, craze. And ultimately, when they took all these healthy fats out of food, they put in a bunch of sugar, which actually sugar is linked to obesity way more than fat is. In fact, fat doesn't make you fat. It's your body's inability to burn fat that makes you fat. And if you're not consuming enough healthy fats, there's all sorts of things that go wrong. Healthy fat is a really great anti-inflammatory. It is great for cognitive function. In fact, every single cell in your entire body is a lipid bilayer, meaning it's a fat layer around. It's the skin of the cell, which is the brain of the cell, has lipid, which is fat. And so if you're not consuming enough healthy fat, you're weakening every single cell in your entire body. Not to mention your hormones are created from healthy fats. So if you're not consuming enough healthy fat, you're wrecking your hormones. Your body can't build testosterone, or if you have estrogen dominance issues. I mean, all these things can stem back from a deficiency in healthy fat because we've been tricked to think that we don't want to have fat because it's going to make us fat. And that is an absolute lie. Fat doesn't make us fat. It's the body's inability to burn fat that makes us fat. And you have to consume fat for your body to burn fat. That's why like keto diets are so popular for weight loss. Now, here's the importance. So it's healthy fat, not bad fat. So examples of healthy fat are like extra virgin olive oil, wild caught fish, avocados, raw nuts and seeds, grass-fed beef. Examples of bad fats are going to be your hydrogenated fats, like your margarines or your commercial beef, meaning that remember, because commercial beef is, they're fed grain and GMO corn, and they're really, really inflamed. And so when you consume them, then you become inflamed, versus grass-fed, their omega ratio is more like a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1, which is not inflamed. So when you consume that, you're actually getting healthy fats. Antioxidant-rich foods. Antioxidant-rich foods are huge in protecting your body against oxidative stress. So like those damaged oils, those bad fats, the sugars, the carbohydrates, all those things cause oxidative stress, which damage your cells, damage your DNA, create bad cellular replication, create this massive cytokine storm, this inflammatory response. And again, that's setting your body weak, and immune system is weak, susceptible to disease and opportunistic pathogens. So consuming lots and lots of antioxidant-rich foods is absolutely critical to protect every cell and your immune system in your body. Citrus foods like oranges, limes, lemons are super rich in vitamin C, which actually encourages your body's white blood cells to fight. So this is really cool. Something about like just vitamin C. Vitamin C actually increases or strengthens those white blood cells. So sugar weakens your white blood cells, causes them to like go to sleep. Vitamin C strengthens your white blood cells. It makes it to where their body can fight at a higher level. In fact, when you look at people who take vitamin C, it reduces the duration of a sickness or an illness by almost 20%. So they do studies where if someone gets sick and they gave them a really good, healthy amount of vitamin C, it can reduce the length of how sick they are by about 20%. So again, white blood cells they just thrive with lots of healthy vitamin C. In fact, if you consume enough vitamin C, it actually acts as an antiviral, which is pretty cool. Like when you hear about people doing intravenous vitamin C therapy, it actually works as an antiviral drug. It's classified as an antiviral drug at high enough. So putting like lemon and lime and stuff like that into water can really help with increasing your vitamin C. Garlic. Not only is it super tasty, but it actually has antibacterial properties. So again, you're strengthening your body with killing bad bacteria if you're consuming enough healthy garlic. In fact, garlic is in a lot of immune supporting supplements because of how good it is for an antibiotic, especially if you have a bacterial infection. In fact, when you have like kids that get like ear infections, a lot of time you get garlic drops, and it does wonders for helping to kill any sort of bad bacteria in there. So you don't have to ever rely on an antibacterial or an antibiotic. One of the most important immune boosting foods is protein, especially now it's important when you talk about protein, but good high quality protein. There's a very big difference. You have to consume healthy quality protein. And one of the best things you can do is to break your fast with protein. So you ever like breaking your fast? That's why they call it breakfast, because it's the first meal of the day. Now, some people do intermittent fasting. I'm a huge component of intermittent fasting. So my first meal of the day is typically lunch. So I'm breaking my fast, and it's around lunchtime. And there's some really good evidence of immune support and weight loss and stuff like that, fat burning, metabolism when you're doing intermittent fasting. In fact, if you fast for 3 days, it's known to completely reset your immune system. When you fast, your body is increasing what's called autophagy, which is causing bad cells to die. It increases the rate of bad cell death because cells have life cycles. And if those cells aren't dying, then they can turn to cancer cells. They can mutate and evolve, and that's how you can turn into cancer cells. So by fasting, actually increases autophagy, which is causing these bad cells to die. Like it's increasing the rate of the cell death, which strengthens your immune system by literally resets your immune system if you fast for 3 days. But breaking your fast, one of the most important ways to break your fast is with a good high quality protein. So one of the things that I do every single morning is I do a protein smoothie. I actually mix it with some greens in there too to get some really good antioxidants and some good vitamins and minerals. But when you consume a high quality protein, it does a bunch of stuff. Those amino acids your body uses building blocks, a lot of glutathione precursors, which is your body's master antioxidant to, again, fight off damage from free radicals. So I do a smoothie every single morning as my breakfast. In fact, even my little girl, she does a smoothie for breakfast, again, making sure she's getting really good quality protein to create a healthy, strong body. Now, one of the unique things about our protein with MaxLiving is that it's a pure path standard, and it is a grass-fed, grass-finished protein, which is really important because it's really hard to get like grass-fed protein. Most of the proteins out there are just commercial beef or whatever. And again, like they're fed tons and tons of grain. They're fed, GMO grain and corn. So they're super inflamed, and they're mass producing this milk. So they're pumping like 24/7. And so they're getting fed lots of antibiotics and steroids because they're in sick environments, and they want to produce this highest volume of product. And so they don't care if the cows get sick. They just keep feeding them full of antibiotics and steroids to keep them producing. That's why, you got to be really careful with like the certain hormones they find in dairy, because of they're promoting like higher production. So they don't really care about the quality. All they care about is the quantity. And if you're getting that sort of protein, you're actually causing way more sickness and disease in your body. And something really gross, and I was kind of doing some research, but a lot of those proteins that are created like that, or that sort of dairy, is they allow a certain amount of pus from sick animals into it, but they're because they're giving them all the steroids and antibiotics. It's really kind of gross. So high quality. One of the other benefits of getting our MaxLiving grass-fed whey protein is it's non-denatured, meaning that it's its purest form. So it's not cooked or heated, so they're not damaging any of the amino acids. So you're actually getting like the best quality form of it. So this is what I do every single morning to break my fast, to boost my immune system. One of the best benefits too is it helps regulate insulin levels. In fact, I have this really interesting story. I had a patient who was pre-diabetic, and this is a stubborn old guy. he would not change any of his nutrition. He wouldn't do it. But I convinced him to replace his breakfast with a smoothie because it tastes good. He was willing to do that. And so he started doing smoothies in the morning. And, a couple months later, he went back to his doctor for kind of a routine checkup. And the doctor rechecked all his levels, and he was no longer pre-diabetic because he was consuming these healthy grass-fed whey proteins, and it was really helping to regulate his insulin levels for the day. So his body was able to handle blood sugar regulation a lot easier. So just kind of a cool side note on how important a good healthy whey protein is. Now, the MaxLiving nutrition plan has some pretty specific benefits, and this is really what I promote for our patients, but there's just kind of a couple big ideas. You want to really try to eat as much organic as possible to minimize your exposures to toxins and pesticides and residue and stuff like that. You want to really reduce a lot of the refined carbohydrates and try to get healthier versions of your meat product. Those are kind of the main things, and also increasing your healthy fats. Those are the main ideas when it comes to just a good, healthy nutrition plan. Reduce the refined carbohydrates, get as much organic as you can, increase your healthy fats, so anti-inflammatories, and you want to make sure you're getting really good, high-quality proteins. If you can just do those things, most people will do really, really well, especially when it comes to improving quality health. Now, we have what's called an advanced plan, and this is more of an anti-inflammatory diet. This is much more of a healing diet. This is the kind of diet that's required if you have weight loss resistance, inflammatory biomarkers, if there's disease processes like diabetes, heart disease, cancer risk, stuff like that. And this is where we're really eliminating a lot of the inflammatory responses. So nothing that's going to really increase your insulin levels. So no sugars, even if you're going to consume like sugary fruits, we're kind of avoiding that. So you can do berries and lower glycemic foods, because you don't want to increase that insulin level, because once you do that, you're increasing your inflammatory responses. And so we got to be very, very smart. So this is in a diet that's really more tailored to an anti-inflammatory or a healing type diet. So here we're going to talk about the most important immune supporting nutrients. And so I have a couple that I really think are my favorite, that look like they have the most research, that are most supported in the literature. One of the big ones is zinc. Zinc is found in every single cell in your entire body. It's necessary for over 300 different 3 different functions as an enzyme. Enzymes help speed up chemical reactions in your body and are responsible for several functions, including metabolism, digestion, nerve function, and a lot of other processes. Zinc is also a key component in the immune health and function, cell growth, and DNA synthesis, protein production, and it helps to fight off oxidative stress. Zinc fights off viral infections, and this is really important. And this is why zinc was so promoted during the COVID epidemic, is zinc can stop viral replication. And this is amazing on a couple of levels. Number one is how sick you get is determined on the viral load. So when that virus comes into you and it starts to replicate, the amount of replication, like how much your viral load, how many viruses are able to exist, determines on how sick you get. So if you're doing a really good job with zinc, it actually stops viral replication. So the viral load is way lower if you're consuming good quality zinc versus really high. So that means that it's protecting you from getting really, really sick. This is why some people would get COVID, they'd get like a little run down, but some people would get COVID and get really, really sick. It's because the viral load. Now, it's also really important because if you're consuming zinc and you're reducing viral replication, you're actually eliminating your potential to spread it. And that's critical too. So it works as an antiviral and it stops viral replication. So research showed when treated with zinc within the first 10 days of an infection, the survival rates were much higher and significantly better. It showed that it lowers, but it showed at lower levels of zinc, it led to a 2 times greater risk of hospitalization or dying when it came to COVID studies. This mineral is involved in signaling pathways with every single immune cell. Zinc is also an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and supports your immune health. So guys, I can't say enough about zinc and how important it is. Now you get zinc from from seeds, grass-fed meats, and beans. The problem with a lot of like zinc and consuming zinc through food is that we have such a soil depletion. And so for the body to utilize most effectively zinc, it's kind of required with synergistically, like you have to have vitamin B, malic acid, and taurine. You have to have other things when you're consuming zinc for it to be absorbed and to be actually utilized. So you really need to look for what they would call a chelated or highly bioavailable zinc. And one of the reasons why I'm such a huge fan of our Zinc Plus is because it has these synergistic vitamins and minerals to activate the zinc. And so you're actually able to absorb it, and it has high enough levels that you're actually able to use it to stop things like viral replication. So that's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge fan of the zinc that we carry, which is called Zinc Plus. So vitamin D3, which we'll talk about, is one of the most important immune cells. I talked about vitamin C. NAC is huge, N-acetylcysteine. So here, let's kind of go through this. So talking about vitamin D, you should get vitamin D from the sun. This is critical. In fact, every single immune cell needs a D3 molecule to activate it. They used to think vitamin D was really important for like bone health and like preventing things like rickets. But what they're really finding out that vitamin D3 acts more like a hormone than it does a vitamin. And it's critical to every single immune cell. In fact, I want to put this slide up here so you can see really the prevention of disease when you're able to get your vitamin D levels up. In fact, if you go down where it says breast cancer, if your vitamin D levels are up over 50 and into the 60s, it can prevent up to 67% of breast cancer. All cancers combined, which is right above breast cancer, 35 to even 75%. Type 1 diabetes, 80%. I mean, so what this is saying is if your blood serum levels are up this high, it can reduce your incidence of these disease processes by that percentage. When they looked at studies, what they found is that a significant amount of people are deficient in vitamin D. In fact, it was like 96%, especially here in North America. They found that over 80% of COVID-19 patients had low vitamin D3, the ones that got really sick and that were hospitalized. Research showed that if someone had less than 50 vitamin D3, they saw a 47% loss of a loss of positivity than if they had higher. So basically, if you have less vitamin D3, then the sicker you're potentially going to get. So how does vitamin D3 really work? Vitamin D3 plays an important role in your immune health, especially your body's defense against viruses and bacteria. So studies have shown that taking vitamin D supplements, dosage of 4,000 IUs a day or higher, and typically I recommend about 5,000 to 10,000, especially during the winter season, but it actually fights off viruses, including respiratory infection, things like the flu, and even things like COVID-19. I mean, vitamin D3 has been one of the most well-known supplements to help with fighting infection, especially upper respiratory issues and viruses. So this is ultimately why we put together this specific bundle. This is what I picked my favorites. These are the ones that I would recommend to help strengthen your immune system going into the flu season. So I talked about vitamin C, and when you consume high levels of vitamin C, it acts as an antiviral drug. It stops viral damage, and it reduces your chances of getting sick by up to 20%. Vitamin D3 activates every single immune cell, acts as an antiviral drug. Zinc, especially zinc plus, because it has things like your B vitamins and some of the other bioactive ingredients to help with stopping viral replication to reduce the severity of your sickness or your cold or your flu, but also stops replication. So if someone in your house gets sick, boom, make sure you put them on that zinc plus so they stop spreading it. And the other one, and this is kind of a big deal because they've been talking about this in the news here recently, and not to go into conspiracy theories, but it seems like they are trying to get people to not take this N-acetylcysteine, this NAC, this NAC, because it is such a powerful antioxidant, and it's been proven to stop sickness and disease. But it's the same reason why they weren't promoting monoclonal antibodies. It's why they weren't promoting zinc. It's why they weren't promoting vitamin D. It's why they weren't promoting ivermectin or all those other things that like had lots of evidence to show that they're really good for fighting off specific viruses. But a lot of the mainstream media, and I don't know why, they were saying that the things don't work. I mean, they were pushing their specific agenda, and they wanted people to get the shot or whatever. But I don't know why they, in tandem, why wouldn't they promote things that make your body healthy and strong? Things like NAC. This is one of those things that I've been specifically trying to stock up on because, again, I want to make sure that I have it available for me and my family. And so we have what's called Pro NAC, which is the most bioavailable form. So that way your body can utilize it to create stuff like glutathione, which is your body's most powerful antioxidant. So this is the specific bundle that I put together to make sure that my patients are consuming to get their immune system healthy and strong. Now, I have two other bundles that I really created just in case you have a severity exposure, or not a severity exposure, but an exposure and you need more of a therapeutic dosage. So this other bundle is more of a, hey, I'm going to do these things to help protect and get my immune system stronger. So that way I'm good to go. However, if you get exposed, like say you're hanging out with someone and then you realize that they got diagnosed with the flu or COVID or whatever, this is the bundle that I'm going to really recommend. It's just a bigger therapeutic dosage, and we give specific recommendations for how much to consume. So it's all the things I put in that other bundle, but I'm also including the IM support, which is your echinacea in your chlorella, or I'm sorry, it's your elderberry and your echinacea, which have been proven, for years and years and years to help really boost the immune system. Supports a variety of immune supporting nutrients, including echinacea and elderberry. Medical mushrooms, which all work together to enhance protection. Additionally, it contains aerogalactin, which helps to support a healthy balance in gut bacteria. So it's really good for your guts, but it's building a strong immune system specifically through those herbs that are super powerful. I also included vitamin A and curcumin, specifically curcumin, because it helps to reduce your inflammatory responses, which is one of the reasons why, again, like COVID was so bad, because it created this massive cytokine storm, which is really what caused organ failure issues. And so by taking stuff like curcumin, you're reducing the overall inflammatory responses. And so this is a powerful, powerful supplement to help make sure that you're not getting super sick if you do get exposed. And then we have a recovery bundle, which is the same supplements. It's just at a higher therapeutic dosage. And so we have a stronger recovery. So again, you're consuming these to boost that immune system. So instead of being sick for 5 days, you're sick for 2 days. And so this is what we're promoting to our patients to protect themselves if they ever get, exposed or recovers. Now, really touching on things like exercise and how important it is to immune system. because when you exercise, you move a lot of your immune cells throughout the body to make sure you're getting, circulate. Basically, it's improving circulation and making sure immune cells are over. It's helped to drain your lymphatic processes, like your lymphatics and your lymphatic system. So that way your trash system, which is your lymphatic system, can kill those bad cells and help the get it out of your system there. It's also one of the best ways to detox, to again, get rid of toxins to promote a healthy immune system. Again, we talk about toxic exposures. Another way you can really set your body up for failure is to get, super toxic. And so understanding where the major sources of toxins are coming from and understanding how your detoxification organs work. So on a consistent basis, doing some liver cleanses, making sure you're cleansing your intestines and your kidney flushes, making sure you're just taking really good care of your gut. But here's just some symptoms of toxicity: loss of energy, memory loss, depression, anxiety, restlessness, mental fog, nausea, insomnia, allergies, nervousness, skin irritation. Almost all skin issues are a reflection of an internal toxicity issue. Food intolerances, body aches and pains. I mean, when it comes to just overall pain and aches, it's a toxicity issue. Frequent headaches, muscle stiffness, colds and flus. Again, you're weakening your immune system, so it just can't even handle normal viruses. Cold spots or sensation or deteriorating vision. I mean, all those are really, really important signs to pay attention to that could show that you're super, super toxic. So doing regular detoxifications, but understanding where toxins are coming from. Your body is supposed to naturally detox. That's what these organs do. But understanding where the toxins are coming from. So, we teach our patients, here are the most common exposures: BPA, lead, polychlorinated biphenyls, chlorine, fluoride, cyanide, formaldehyde, parabens, and understanding that they're coming from plastics. You can see a picture of cosmetic products right there. And again, knowing what chemicals are in the products that you're using is critically important, because there's some things you can't avoid. You can't avoid that there's probably carpet in your house, or that there's flooring in your house or the place that you work. You can't control that there might be flame retardants in your furniture or in your bed. But what you can control is what kind of soap you use, what kind of toothpaste you use, what kind of water you drink, what you drink out of. You can control what cosmetic products you use. You can control what you wash your clothes in. You can control what you clean your house with. You can control so much of your chemical exposure, and you have to reduce the chemical load, because ultimately we're just bombarded by chemicals. In fact, they did a study where they looked at brand new baby cord blood, and it had over 240 different chemical pollutants. 240 different chemical pollutants, brand new baby cord blood. That's how toxic mom was. So understanding the amount of toxic exposure we have has to force you to really try to eliminate what you can, and also make sure you're just doing really good detoxes on a regular basis to help promote healthy function and healthy immune system. Now, kind of getting into understanding the real definition of health, because I talked about those things that support health versus what controls health. What supports health are all the nutrition, exercise, all those things support health, but they don't really control health, because people can eat all organic and still get cancer. People can eat, all organic, exercise every single day and look really, really good, and they can still get sick. I mean, health is not about how you feel or how you look. Health ultimately is about how your body functions. I mean, if you think about health and function, if your body functions at 100%, you're healthy. If your body functions at 0, you're dead. If your body functions at 50%, then you're sick. If your lungs, so think about it like this. So like if your immune system functioned at 100%, if your immune system was way over here at 100%, and you came in contact with viruses or bacteria, well, then your body fights it off and it kills it, and you're not getting sick. As bad cells pop up, as cancer cells pop up, but if your immune system is at 100% and your immune system is just killing those cancer cells, well, then you don't develop cancer. If your lungs function at 100%, then you can't have asthma, because that's the definition of asthma. Like, your lungs are dysfunctioning. They're not functioning at 100%. So if they function at 100%, you cannot have asthma by definition. If your body functions, if it regulates your blood sugar at 100%, then you don't have diabetes. If your body regulates your blood pressure at 100%, meaning if you get stressed out, your blood pressure goes up, but then it regulates and comes back down. That's healthy, normal response. But if all of a sudden your body can't regulate and it stays up, elevated, well, that's hypertension, that's dysfunction, that's disease. So if your body is regulating and healing and functioning at 100%, then you're healthy. If that's the case, then wouldn't it make sense that we want to look at what would control the function? What controls your heart rate variability? What controls your respiratory rate? What controls your body's ability to regulate blood pressure? What controls your body's ability to regulate blood sugar? Controls your pancreas? What controls the organs? There's one system that controls everything, and that is your central nervous system. That's your brain and your spinal cord. God put all the healing power right there inside your brain. And that power is what runs every cell, tissue, organ in your entire body. So for the heart to beat and respond to stresses and to adapt to stresses, for your heart rate variability to function, your brain sends signals down the spinal cord and across the nerves to every cell, tissue, organ in your entire body. For your body to digest the healthy food or the healthy supplements you're taking and turn those nutrients into immune cells, your nerve system is in control of all that. And we know that because if something happened and someone like cut all the nerves to the heart, what would instantly happen to the heart? Well, it would turn off. It doesn't matter what that person looks like, how healthy they look, what their nutrition is, or how much they can exercise, or how many supplements they take, or organic food they eat. All those things wouldn't matter if there was no more life energy to the heart. The heart would just stop working. If we cut all the nerves into the arm couldn't work. Doesn't matter how many nutrients you take. If you cut all the nerves to the stomach, it doesn't matter what kind of probiotic you're on. There's just no more power to the cells and organs of the stomach. So it would just turn off. So health is really about your innate intelligence, that innate intelligence that causes cell replication or cut to heal on your arm or for your body to digest food. That intelligence is what controls health. All the other stuff, like good nutrition and vitamins and minerals and exercise, those things just support that intelligence. Now, how chiropractic is such an important part of this is because your spinal cord is protected by your spine, right? Your back isn't your back. Your back is your spine. And the job of your spine is to protect that spinal cord, which just is the extension of your brain. So the skull protects the brain, but it's your spinal cord that protects your spine. Your spinal cord is protected by your spine and all the spinal roots. Now, things like slips and falls and poor postures and injuries, these things can cause spinal misalignments. These are called subluxations. And a subluxation, as you can see, is a misalignment in the spine due to some sort of stress or trauma, and it pinches the nerve. So if I cut the nerve that goes to the heart would instantly shut off. Instead of cutting that nerve, if that spine shifts and it just starts to pinch that nerve, well, it's not causing the heart to die right away, but if there's pressure on the nerve, it's going to interfere with how the heart functions or adapts to stress. Now, when most people think of a pinched nerve, because everybody's heard of pinched nerves, but a lot of times when people think of a pinched nerve, they think of like pain down the arm or pain down the leg, sciatic pain. But not all pinched nerves cause pain. Like you can't feel your heart. You can't really feel a lot of the internal organs. So if there's pressure on the nerve system, it might not cause pain. It could just cause dysfunction, or it could cause some weakness. And so if you can look at this chart, it labels the nerves like C1, C2, C3, C4, and it shows areas that nerve system controls. And if there's dysfunction, it can show symptoms of potentially a misalignment in that area of the spine. So if there's a misalignment in the very top part of the neck, that area of the spine controls things like blood flow and oxygen to the head. And as you can see, the top symptom is stuff like headaches or maybe migraines. Now, the typical American, when they have a headache or a migraine, what do? Well, they go take a bunch of Tylenol or ibuprofen. And that might make the headache go away, but you're not getting a headache because you have a lack of Tylenol or ibuprofen. You have a headache because there's something wrong. But we're so brainwashed into thinking that we need to take this drug to treat a symptom. We need to take a drug to treat a symptom versus finding out what the underlying cause of that is. Now, you can be dehydrated and get a headache, or you can have consumed some bad drinks, or maybe you had some alcohol, or you had some bad food or whatever, and that might cause a headache. But that's like a one-time thing. If someone gets like headaches, if they get headaches, then they need to look for the underlying cause. And too often or not, in my case, what I see is misalignments in the upper part of the neck due to some sort of stressor or trauma, and it's putting pressure on the brainstem, affecting blood flow and oxygen to the head. And boom, that's what's causing their consistent headaches. And that's why they're having to take Tylenol several times a week or several times a month or whatever. Now, you can see it also, this nerve system goes into things like the sinuses. And so people have a lot of sinus issues or frequent colds that could be due to an upper misalignment or a subluxation in the upper part of the neck. In fact, this upper part of the neck, we see a lot of this in kids. If they have like maybe some stresses from sitting in their car seat or birth stress, whether they had to get a little help getting out of the birth canal or forceps or suction cup, or God forbid, if it was a C-section, there can be a lot of damage in the upper part of the neck. And that can lead to things like chronic ear infections, because that upper misalignment changes the shape of the eustachian tube, makes it really flat, and that allows things to get clogged, and then it builds bacteria or viral stuff in there, and then boom, then they get ear infections. So one of the coolest things is when kids get adjusted and it corrects the shape of the eustachian tube, it actually allows it to drain. And I can't tell you how many kids come in, chronic ear infection. Parents have been giving them multiple antibiotics, and it just keeps coming back. They come in, they start getting adjusted, and boom, it clears up the ear infections. And they don't ever have ear infections again, because we're getting to the root cause of the problem. Now you go to a little bit lower, middle part of the neck. This is what goes to things like the thyroid, energy levels, metabolism, right? If there's pressure on the nerve going to your thyroid, do you think your thyroid is going to work good or slow? Yeah, and how many people do you know have sluggish thyroids? Of course, in the medical world, they get put on a thyroid drug. But they never looked to see that car accident that they had 15 years ago, even though it was just a little fender bender, caused a little bit of whiplash. Well, now their neck is just a little bit misaligned, and there's pressure on the nerve going to the thyroid. And then over the course of a couple of years, now their thyroid is starting to work slower, get weak. And so that is, again, another sign that there could be a subluxation or misalignment causing that. You go to a little bit lower in the upper part of the back, that nerve system can go down into the arm. So stuff like carpal tunnel or radiating pain or numbness and tingling into the extremities or the hands, or a little bit lower into the upper part of the back. That nerve system is what regulates the stomach, like up here, the stomach. And so if your body's not regulating stomach acid very well, some of the main symptoms are things like acid reflux, heartburn, or indigestion. And so again, you take Tums because you have heartburn, but it's not a lack of Tums. It's your body can't regulate the stomach on its own very well. And so patients that we look at and we find subluxation and misalignments in the area and start to get adjusted, that is one of the main things that people notice get better. You go a little bit lower, pressure on the nerve going to the colon. Again, if there's pressure on the nerve going to a muscle, the muscle is going to get weak. If that muscle is your colon and it's not working very well, you can get things like IBS, or you can get things like constipation. And those things are really dangerous because you're obviously getting a sick and weak stomach, or you're not getting rid of toxins, you're building up waste products. A little bit lower in the lower back, that nerve system that goes down to the leg, like things like sciatica, but also controls stuff like your prostate or the colon or the reproductive organs, hormone regulation, you name it. But again, these are really easy examples of what would cause a misalignment. In fact, this is probably the biggest thing that I see on so many people, is that they're just on their technology a ton. They're on their phone. In fact, we call, a loss of cervical curve text neck. And that can cause tons of damage and increased deterioration, pressure on the disc, increased herniated disc, pressure and tension on the spinal cord. In fact, if you lose even 50% of the curve in your neck, right? So from the front, your spine should be straight, but from the side, your spine has to have perfect curves. If you lose even 50% of the curve you're supposed to have in your neck, it can traction your spinal cord up to 3 centimeters, which can cause thinning of the cord, which affects the electrical impulses, the speed at which the brain communicates to the body, and it creates dysfunction over time. One study showed, and this is probably one of my favorite studies, but patients that get adjusted, you have a 200 to up to 400% stronger immune system than the average healthy person. So they did this with adults, and they found that patients that get adjusted had 200 to 400% stronger immune system than the average healthy adult. And how that works is every time you get adjusted, you get what's called a respiratory burst effect. It stimulates your nerve system when you get adjusted. So it doesn't just unpinch the nerve, but it stimulates the nerve system. And it helps to activate your interleukin-2, which is part of the immune system that turns on your CD4 and T killer cells. So just like vitamin C strengthened your white blood cells, or sugar decreased the strength of your white blood cells, getting adjusted increased your white blood cells. In fact, you got a 48% response for up to 2 hours every time you get adjusted. So I tell my patients this: Yes, chiropractic is great for your back pain. It's amazing for your neck pain. It's going to do wonders for curing your headaches. But if you feel like your body's getting weak, getting sick, getting run down, you got to get in here and get adjusted to boost your immune system so that way you can overcome, the opportunistic pathogens or viruses or bacteria that you might be getting exposed to. Or if you do feel like you're getting sick, get in, get adjusted, get that immune system boosted so that way you can shorten the duration of that sickness. In fact, really, it was the 1918 flu epidemic that actually put chiropractic on the map. The reason chiropractors are doctors is because of how well an adjustment did with helping with patients with the flu back in the 1918 flu epidemic. In fact, up until the 1940s or 50s, chiropractic was more known to help with infectious disease than it was stuff like arthritic lower back pain. So just to understand the importance of your nerve system in relationship to your immune system. Your nerve system controls everything. Yes, it controls your heart. Yes, it controls your lungs. Yes, it controls your fingers and your hand. But it controls your immune system and the immune system's ability to interpret viruses and bacteria, activate the right immune cells to go kill those viruses and bacteria. Remember, everything is controlled from that innate intelligence, which is just communicating through your nerve system. So how we correct stuff like that is very specific. Spinal rehab, very specific spinal adjustments to correct misalignments, structural curves. One of the reasons we do such a great job with MaxLiving and in our office is because it's not short-term pain relief. We're not just trying to, adjust one bone or pop the back, but we're trying to strengthen the spine, correct a misalignment so that we were able to hold our adjustments and to make sure that our nerve system is healthy and strong. In fact, I'll give you a quick example. I had a patient, Sarah, came in. And Sarah had debilitating migraines. She had to do 36 Imitrex shots every 3 months. She had been to all the doctors, all the neurologists. The only solution was to take a bunch of shots for how bad her migraines were. In fact, she was on disability because she couldn't function. She had chronic fatigue. She was put on thyroid medication because her thyroid was shutting down. And she had a whole host of other issues, including just chronic sickness. She was always sick. She had no idea why. She took the Sudafeds. She took all these different things. She was on cold and flu, sinus medication all the time because her body was just so weak and so sick. She had even been to other chiropractors because she had some neck issues and she had a car accident several years ago. So finally, she got referred in to see me. Well, I took an x-ray and I looked at the side view of her neck. And if you can see this middle part of her neck, you can see how thin that disc is because of the whiplash injury she had. And she actually had a reverse curve. Her curve is actually curving forward 5 degrees, where it should be curving the correct way, 45 degrees. So her spinal cord is getting traction. That top bone in her neck, which should be at a 31-degree angle, is at a 19. So it's over a 33% flattening of that top bone in her neck, putting a ton of pressure on the brainstem, which we talked about. That is the area affecting blood flow and oxygen in the brain, causing stuff like migraine headaches. But she had been adjusted before and it didn't really ever help. That middle part where the degeneration was is the nerve going right to her thyroid. So you tell me, how is her thyroid functioning? Well, clearly it's not. It's shutting down. And that kind of stress and damage to her nerve system is causing her body to get weak. And so her immune system just literally cannot handle any exposures to viruses or bacteria. So this is an example of a really weak host, very susceptible to disease processes or sicknesses or flus or COVID-19. She came in, we started applying all the corrective protocols, all the corrective rehab, all the corrective adjustments, and here's her re-x-ray after a couple months. 90% improvement. She got her complete curve back. She got pressure off her brainstem. Her migraines were completely gone. No more shots, no more drugs. She came off her thyroid medication because as we get pressure off the nerve to the thyroid started to get strong again, and her body got so healthy that she didn't need the drug anymore. Now, I didn't take her off the drug. That's not my job. I'm a chiropractor. I do not deal with medications. My goal is to help somebody get so healthy, get their body so healthy that there's no need for a medication. Now, as her body got healthy, as her body got stronger, as she came off these medications, her immune system got so strong that then she became the one person in her house that never got sick. Kids could get sick, spouse could get sick. She was always the one who never got sick because her body, her immune system, everything got to a point where it could interact and adapt to the viruses and to kill off all the bad pathogens. Here's a side view of a lower back. Kind of a similar thing. Like a lot of people sit for a living and it's just sitting to the spine is like sugar to the teeth and just ruins your lower back curve. So again, from the side, you're supposed to have a really good curve. Can't really see me. But you're supposed to have a really good curve in your lower back. That's where the strength and stability comes from. That's what protects the disc. Those spaces in between the bones, those are the discs. When you lose the curve, all the weight loads the disc. And as the disc is a cushion, if you put a bunch of weight on the cushion gets compressed. And so that compression is what causes the spine to get weak. That's accelerating degenerative disc disease. So that's where degenerative disc disease comes from. And it increases the risk of herniating a disc by 92%. In fact, this person had herniated discs, had sciatic pain, had a bunch of digestive issues. And because their digestive issues were so bad, their immune system was super susceptible. Again, they got super sick every time. They got the flu every single year. Nothing really ever mattered. Came in, started getting adjusted, completely corrected the curve in their lower back. Their immune system got stronger. The pressure came off their sciatic nerve. Their discs were able to heal, so no more back pain. Could get back to playing with their kids, get back to working out. This person loved to bike ride. I mean, all sorts of stuff was able to restore, not because we were just popping their back, but because we were restoring the strength and stability of their spine, getting pressure off their nerve system so the body could heal. This is AJ. I got to share this story. I love this because we see a lot of kids in our office. The blonde girl, that is Dr. Jill. She is my wife. This is a little bit of an older picture, but AJ came in, and this was just a really beautiful little girl. Won all the like Miss America little girl pageants, really cute. But she had debilitating constipation to a point, and this was like since she was like a baby, debilitating constipation. They would give her, as soon as she could take a bottle, they would give her Miralax, and she had to do Miralax every single day to just have a bowel movement a few times a week. It got so bad that there were several trips they had to take into the ER to have digital removals. They had to reach up in there and try and pull the poop out. They had to do enemas. In fact, I mean, literally this little girl's life was just miserable because she was so sick. Immune system was trashed. She couldn't go to the bathroom. In fact, it was so bad that it was getting to a point where the medical doctors were trying to tell them if it didn't get better, that they were going to have to cut part of her colon out. And she was going to have a colostomy bag for the rest of her life. And the mom's a nurse, and the mom had been to all the doctors and was really pretty skeptical of chiropractic. She's like, well, I've been to the best doctors. They've checked her. They can't figure out what's going on. And my little girl has to have this medication or she won't go to the bathroom. Well, she came into the office and we took an x-ray of this little girl, and you can see that she has lost the curve in her neck. And she had a pretty stressful birth process. It wasn't a C-section, but there was some forceps involved and stuff like that. So it caused some trauma to the neck, and you can see that she had no curves. There's a lot of pressure on her brainstem. And that nerve system obviously controls how her body functions, including her digestive system. So if the nerve system is getting damaged, you get a weak digestive system. So she wasn't able to go to the bathroom. Now she came in, she got adjusted. And the mom was sharing this story with us later, but she said after her first adjustment, they were walking to the car, and the little girl was kind of crying and was like, hey, mommy, my bum is tingling. My butt is tingling. And the mom is like, I don't know. Did she like have an accident? You know, she did take Miralax earlier that day. And so she had gone to the bathroom, but they came back in, got adjusted, starting to implement the corrective protocols. So we got her on an adjustment program, and she got a re-x-ray after about a month or so. And we got almost complete correction of her cervical curve. And she's never had to do a serving of Miralax since that very first adjustment. Her body healed. Her digestive system healed because her body was trying to heal. The body's created to heal, but there was so much interference that it couldn't. There was so much dysfunction. The body was just expressing that it was broken down. And so as we started to get pressure up the nerve system, and that innate intelligence was able to communicate to the gut was able to heal, and all the constipation went away. So she got to avoid the surgery, got to avoid the colostomy bag. She got to avoid the Miralax because we were able to get to the root cause of the problem. And now this is a beautiful, healthy little girl. In fact, here is her poop chart. But how many little girls out there have severe constipation and have to take drugs? And the medical doctors continue to push stuff like Miralax or other medications, or tell them that they have to get their colon removed or do enemas or whatever. But no one's ever told them that their body is created to heal. You just have to find the root cause of the interference. Why is the body not functioning properly? And if you can find that and correct that, then the God-given ability to heal is there, and it will be restored. And you get miracles like this that we see in our office every single day. Now, here are different warning signs that there are subluxations. headaches, menstrual issues, blood pressure problems, the depression. The upper part of the neck, that is an area that controls serotonin levels. And if there's an imbalance in your chemistry, if your body's not regulating your chemistry properly, you're going to get an imbalance and you're going to get symptoms, especially things like depression. You do not have depression because you have a lack of a drug, especially when you look how dangerous those drugs are. Your body has a chemical imbalance because it's not regulating on its own. And so patients, we find a subluxation, we start to adjust it, the body starts to self-regulate itself. Those chemicals, the hormones, they start to self-regulate, and patients get to literally throw away their depression medication because we're able to get to the root cause of the problem. Obviously, pinched nerve, numbness and tingling, sciatica in the lower back, pinched nerve, lower back pain, neck pain, dizziness, fatigue. Even like we talk about acid reflux or food intolerances, ear infections, please, 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 before you put your little kid on a bunch of antibiotics, which is crazy to me because most ear infections, in fact, medical research says that 85% of ear infections are viral, and an antibiotic doesn't do anything besides destroy your normal healthy bacteria in your gut, which is where your immune system is. So taking antibiotics actually weakens your immune systems, leaves you more susceptible to damage and disease. So before you do that stuff, go to a really good pediatric chiropractor. Let them check the upper part of the neck. Let's see if there's a misalignment, allowing that stuff to get clogged or building ear infections. And I promise you, are going to have such amazing results, drug-free results, by seeing a really good pediatric chiropractor because things like chronic ear infections, colds, flus, constipation, attention deficit disorders, ADD, we do amazing with helping regulate dopamine levels with good adjustments, sleep issues, eczema. So those are warning signs. Now in our office, anytime someone's trying to refer a friend, or if you're seeing this online, if you're in the area, you can absolutely come into our office. We do we reduce a lot of the main reasons why people do not get in initially to get checked. Because if you're going to go to the hospital and get a full spine digital x-ray, if you're going to get consultation with the neurologist, if you're going to get orthopedic checks, if you're going to get neurological scans, if you're going to get all that stuff done, it could potentially cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And most people just can't or don't want to do that. And is it worth it to find out if there's pressure on your nerve system causing your colon to shut down or your immune system to get weak or to build disease? Of course it's worth that. But it's hard to spend that. And so we remove a financial barrier for you to get checked or for your kids to get in and get checked to see if there's a neurological interference, if there's a subluxation, a misalignment in your spine affecting your nerve system that could potentially be creating your health problem. And from there, we have very specific solutions to help patients get corrections that they need. So if you're ever interested, we do this special. It's $29 that gets complete chiropractic screening. It gets digital x-rays as well as thermal imaging, nerve scans to find out what kind of pressure is on that nerve system, interference, where that is, the extent of the damage, but most importantly, what it would look like if we want to try to correct the underlying cause of the problem. So that way you can not only feel better, but we can actually get your body healthy and strong and obviously be able to fight off opportunistic pathogens. So in closing, understanding the importance of your mindset, understanding that you have control over the strength of your immune system, and you can do specific things to strengthen it. Understanding the germ theory versus the terrain theory. Understanding what true health is, and that's your body's ability to adapt to an environment, that your nerve system is what's in control of that adaptation, and the importance of your spine and your nerve system when it comes to overall health. So health does not come from a pill. Health does not come from a drug, but what it comes from is your body's innate potential, the God-given power inside you, the power that created you in your mother's womb is the same power that controls your immune system. It controls your organs, but it does that through the nerve system. Understanding that you don't have to live in the culture of fear. You do not have to play those games. You do not have to be persistent negativity and bombarded by us with social media or watching the news. You don't have to play that. You don't have to be a part of that. And understanding the importance of stress and your immune system, so just avoid it. Turn it off. Turn it off. Don't play that game. And understanding that you have faith over fear, that your body is created to be healthy and strong. If you just follow the plan, if you follow the natural way that God created us with healthy food, avoiding the toxins, stop putting bad, sick food, stop the sugars, stop the artificial sweeteners, stop the damaged oils, stop putting toxins into the body, start putting good, healthy nutrients in there so your body can use those nutrients to create a healthy immune system. Understand that your body is powerful. Understand that your immune system is powerful. understand that you have the potential to live in a world not fearful and that your body's created to overcome. So, in summary, your takeaways: start looking at your nutrition, avoid the toxins when possible, start to take the right supplements, making sure you're taking those nutrients to create a strong immune system. If you've never checked your spine nerve system, get into a good chiropractor, get your spine nerve system checked, see if there's a subluxation affecting your body's ability to function and heal at its highest potential. And then consistently get plugged in. Go back, watch some other webinars we do, get plugged into our office, be part of this culture. This is not a culture of fear. This is a culture of faith. This is a culture of faith. And this is what we want to do, is we want to build community to consistently lift each other up, to raise this next generation healthy and drug-free. And that's ultimately the purpose of our office. So guys, I hope you really got some great takeaways. I hope you learned a ton. Let me know if you have any questions moving forward.